This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell, and joining me today by phone, we have the Toledo Symphony's music director, Alain Trudel, and right here in the studio, we have a very special guest, composer Christopher Dietz. Now, both of you gentlemen are composers, and I have a little fanfare for you. Now, okay, now you'll remember, Chris, the last time you were here, which was just a few weeks ago, that I created like some kind of weird composing fanfare. So which of the two do you think is easier on the ears?
That last one is particularly rambunctious, perhaps, for my taste.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It depends on what mood you want to conjure.
Yeah. Well, I've got some other music for you later on.
Okay.
But the reason that both of you gentlemen are here, we're having a sort of a composer's corner kind of discussion today. We talked about this concert that's coming up on Friday. It's June 3rd, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art Peristyle, called America in the Key of Gershwin. And it contains 3 different works by living composers, 2 of them right here with us, Alain Trudel and Christopher Dietz. Also, Wang Ji, who we profiled last time around. We also talked a lot about George Gershwin. So now, guess what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about these new pieces that you are bringing to the Peristyle. Which one of you wants to go first and tell us about your piece?
I defer to the maestro.
Oh, no.
Are you still there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm still there. I was actually having a thought about the fanfare piece that you played. And I thought this would be something good in the podcast when somebody's talking for too long, the play out, kind of take the award, go sit down,
Sort of a musical version of the Shepherd's Crook. Yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Or the Academy Awards, every time they talk too long.
Of course.
Yeah.
And they play you off. Well, you have a piano concerto, right?
Yeah, but I feel bad going first because I'm not the real composer here. I'm the conductor doubling as the composer for this concert, but I'll go ahead.
He always says that.
Yeah, but out of the 3 of us, I'm probably the least composery of anybody here. I've written a little bit of music, but I definitely put myself, way, 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 way down at the foot of the mountain where you guys are on the top. But anyway, let's hear about this concerto.
Yeah, okay, sure. First of all, I thought that the way I build the program, I really wanted to have a tribute to a mix of, yes, of course, the music that's played now in America, and the Gershwin is much overlooked, although it's his most famous piece, it's a Porgy and Bess, but this symphonic version is overlooked, and we talked a lot about it in the past episode. But to go around this program, I thought we have to play, first of all music from living composers, and second, I think there's something that happened, that before COVID, during COVID, we had to be really the resilience behind it, because the piece we commissioned to Chris, it was supposed to be played at least 2 years ago, and, we kept going and putting it up, and so it's going to be in, it's going to be in, it's going to be in. That's the first thing I want to put back in as new music in our program, and there's resilience in there, and he kept going and didn't lose faith. And for me, my piece, I wrote it during COVID when I couldn't be around my dear colleagues of the orchestra and our wonderful public, and I was trying to find a way to share music or to feel close to you. And the first part, the first the first quarantine of COVID for everybody, when I came back home from the orchestra after we recorded that Brahms 4th program, I came back home and I played a lot of trombone for some reason. I don't know. I just felt like playing.
It's a good thing you play the trombone.
Yeah, it's a good thing. I'm not the definition of a gentleman, right? The person who can play the trombone but doesn't.
Right.
That's for another show. But what I thought is that, I don't know. I just went like, this was a way for me to reconnect and to post something every Friday. And people were writing to me, oh, thank you. It starts our weekend nights. I was playing quartets, quintets, octets, and just doing that. And then we were able to go out again in the summer. And then we started to be reconfined. And one thing that went to my mind, and that always happened to my mind because I'm so busy conducting and playing, that what I really wanted to do when I was a teenager, when I really started in music, because I started when I was 12. And the first thing that struck me was creation, the piece that people were writing, the improvisation that people were doing in jazz. And the thing I really wanted to be was a composer. And when I was in high school, I was writing music all the time. I always brought it to my teachers, and they were very nice. They had one of them, Monsieur Maclay, he had this saying. He always told me, well, oh yeah, you're getting the hang of it. Yeah, you're getting. He was avoiding, is this good? Is this bad? Is this really bad? But it was always, hey, Alain, you're getting the hang of it. Keep going, keep going. And so I never had a positive or negative comment on whatever I was writing until I was on a stage, right? But, and that's another story. We all live the same. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But, so I kept writing. And then in my 20s, I was touring a lot as a trombone player. And when I was on tour, I was still writing music. Then I started conducting. I mean, I was always conducting from the age of 15. But I started to be a music director, or to be in the running to be a music director. Like I was runner-up in Windsor, I was runner-up in Victoria. Then I was a music director of the CBC Radio Orchestra, and I've been to a bunch of places in Toronto. I was worked a lot there in Ottawa, and then I started conducting like Beethoven, Mahler, and I completely choked about composing. For at least, I'd say, a good at least 15 years, I didn't write anything. I was like, I wrote them. It's not true. I wrote young people shows, a few original young people shows for Platypus Theater. But to commit yourself to writing something. First time I did, like a real first time of a Beethoven symphony, the fifth, the third. First time you do Eroica. I mean, as a composer, you're going to go, oh boy, Beethoven. As usually I like to say is that you gave him like 2 matches and a piece of duct tape, and you come back, half an hour later, and there's a cathedral, and you go, oh my God, how did he do that?
MacGyver. All right, Alain Trudel, everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I mean, it's fascinating, your interest in composing and how it waxes and wanes and all these stories you're telling. But when I look at this piano concerto, I'm thinking, now I know Alain as a trombonist. I mean, what's your experience writing for the piano?
So during the time that I was kind of choking, so I was not, how do you call him, Ludwig van MacGyver. First time I played his music, and Mahler, forget it. After Mahler, I was like mute of myself. I was like, I'm going to devote myself to be interpreter of all these geniuses. But, I still have my voice. I have something that I need to say. And I discovered during COVID that there was still something buried in there. And it was buried by myself. It was not buried. Nobody told me that I sucked, You're
getting the hang of it.
No, but even, you have good reviews, bad reviews of pieces you write. But still, every musician that played it, and it felt like, oh, I like the piece. It wasn't like, but it was like, wow, this is a good piece. Some my first orchestra pieces, people liked them. They were played a lot across Canada, and some of them played in the States. So I thought, like, I stopped repressing, that. And during COVID, I thought, well, hey, listen, if I'm going to write something, like a writer, like not just composer, but a writer who writes a novel, what do? They write every day, and that's the thing. I think for me, that I didn't have confidence because I wasn't committed to writing every day. So every morning, every evening, I would write for a few hours for like 3-4 months. And I was actually, there was an award for the person who started the most pieces without going anywhere with them. During those 15 years, I'd probably be in the running for that, right? So I had all these pieces that I had started. And there's this one piece that I had started for piano, string orchestra, horn obligato, so horn soloist also, and the percussion section. And I just thought that, this could go somewhere. This is a part of material, a little bit of material that I really like, that I never really did anything with it, but it was like a beginning of a bunch of different movements, and they all had an idea together. And I said, if that's the 5% inspiration, and I said maybe if I commit to doing the 95% perspiration during that time, I can maybe make something out of it. So while I was stuck at home, and I thought this is something I could write for my colleagues in Toledo, our wonderful new principal horn, Megan, and our percussion, dynamite, cracker deck, a percussion section. And, it was already it already didn't have any brass and other ones. They're fantastic in an orchestra, but I stayed with the idea that I initially had. And it's actually a nice COVID idea, right, because it's a smaller orchestra. But I started everyday writing. So I filled my music book, but I also filled my waste basket at the same time. You write. I don't know if it's like that for you, Chris, but I write. Half of it goes to in the garbage.
You're like Johannes Brahms. You burn everything.
Well, yeah. I usually have to. I call it unwrapping the piece.
Exactly.
You kind of throw away the wrapping paper after you've finally figured out what's underneath there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
As long as you're not writing on wrapping paper.
Yeah.
Okay. So the piece came to me and by a lot of work, but also I was, I felt inspired, and I think you were talking about Brahms. Brahms used to say the reason why you own your skills is just to be prepared at the moment that inspiration comes, because you work, and at a certain point you get into a zone. That's what he meant, really, right? Mm-hmm. But you get into a zone. But if you're not ready when you're in a zone, if you don't have enough quote-unquote chops, if you can't write, if you don't understand, like for me, I write a lot with limited transposition mode, mm-hmm. and I like also compressed chords, a bit more like Xenakis. I don't want to scare anybody off. It's still melodic. But so I thought that, if I really, really work on this. So I kept writing, solo piano pieces came from that. Another brass piece came of that. But I was still, going towards a piano piece. And I don't know if there's that for you, Chris, but, you wind up with a bunch of extra little pieces around it. Mm-hmm. They're like not studies of it, but, it's like if you look at a Picasso painting, I'm not comparing, but there's a lot of other paintings that come from it, details from it. So that happened. So when I finished, I sent the more or less finished movement 2, 3, and 4. It's 4 movements. It's quite short. It's kind of the form of it. I didn't call it a concerto. There's a name to the piece called Altered, and it has 4 movements that are together, and it's about 22 minutes. But I sent the music to 3 of my favorite pianists, and I thought I didn't tell them there was a concert connected to it. And I said the first one who writes back to me, I'll tell her or him that it's something. And Charles Richard-Hamelin, who was the last one I thought would write back to me, because his wheelhouse is Chopin, right? He was finalist in the international Chopin competition, Mozart, Beethoven, and he wrote and he said, I love it. Can I play it? Has it been played yet? So I went whoa, this was very encouraging. So I finished the first movement.
You're getting the hang of it. Definitely.
I was getting the hang of it. So there you go.
The other 2 pianists called you up and they were like, well, you're getting the hang of it.
It's nice when you have a performer like that with that quality saying yes and sort of encouraging you along with the other movements too.
Shocked.
Well, I want to hear more about this piano concerto, but let's turn to Christopher now, because you also have a piece on here, Chris, and it's called Origin Story. I didn't bring up Alain's walk-on music. I saved that for a little bit later, but I found you some walk-on music, right?
Hit it.
You ready for this? See, I've never seen anybody bob their head along while looking like they absolutely hate the music at the same time.
Humoring it.
Yeah, humoring it. You're humoring me is what you're doing. Let me take that off.
It sounds like that music that you see in the background of YouTube videos when they're talking about a new product or something that's sort of...
Well, I'm sure that they get their music from a similar source. It's all
highly functional.
Yes, functional music. So what can you tell us about Origin Story? I mean, the title, first of all, of these 2 pieces, they both have really interesting titles. Alain, you mentioned your piece for piano and orchestra is called Alter, but it's also got like E in parentheses. I don't know if that's like to aid in the French pronunciation or what the deal is. And you can tell us about that in a minute, but also origin story it could be anything, So what is this piece about?
Right. Well, when the initial discussions were happening about what this piece would be about or like in character 5+ years ago, it was supposed to be about something about Toledo, frankly, about something local, something historical, perhaps. And I guess I went deep with that and went back to not just the origin or the history or the character of this place, but the character of maybe all of us, and the bigger origin story. And so this piece tells the human origin story from 3 different perspectives of the many perspectives that are out there. And I think I want to relate that to Toledo because it's easy for people in small to mid-sized cities to sort of forget your significance, to forget. It's easy to forget that you're part of just as much part of the mix of humanity as everybody else. And all these fantastic myths and these legends and these stories, I mean, they pertain to you, Toledoans. They pertain to you and your children and your crazy uncle and so on and so forth. They really are. I think it's important to draw on that and to reconnect with that, even if you are in geographically modest circumstances by some people's definition.
Yeah.
So I think telling a big story about a smallish place is okay. And the way that the piece is laid out, just give you a brief description. It's in 3 movements, and they're not connected. And there's really 3 different perspectives on the origin of human beings. The first movement is called Mud Men, and
not Made Men, Mud Men,
not Mad Men or
Mad Men. That's what I was thinking
or
of.
Mud Hen.
Very good.
Yay!
Sorry.
Good job, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Mud Men, and that is that there are many origin stories about people being sculpted out of clay or dust or literally coming from the earth itself, and with some divine intervention being turned into human beings. And I wanted to not really depict that in the music, but I liked that idea of a kind of inanimate sort of slushy substance becoming, sophisticated human beings.
Like
and
kinetic sand or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You have kids, so.
Yes, of course. I mean, they're sort of Play-Doh people. And I felt like the music, almost in a roughly cinematic way, could depict that that process in I don't know how long the movement is, maybe 8 minutes or something like that. So the second movement is called The Veil, and this is a different perspective on human origins. This is about a nebula in outer space called the Veil Nebula, and that is a huge cloud of gas and dust that is being illuminated in outer space. And it's from the explosion of a huge star. It's called a supernova. And when these huge stars explode to create nebulas like the Veil Nebula, they disperse the heavy elements of the periodic table into the universe. So elements like sodium and calcium and all the way up to gold and things like that. And of course, those tend to be the elements in your body that do things like build your bones and allow your nerves to function, allow you to have feelings about music. You wouldn't, if you didn't have the sodium created in the explosions of giant stars, you wouldn't feel anything about this music. So I felt connecting with that. Again, it's such a huge cosmic concept. It's hard to wrap our heads around it, but Toledoans, we should, I believe. So,
well, I just want to put in a side note here that you are a fabulous space photographer. I always see these pictures that you've made of various bodies in space, and anybody who follows you on social media can see those as well. So I assume that's an interest of yours.
Yeah, I think if you spend some time in astronomy, you start asking big questions. You can't help it because the things that you see are so astonishing.
Let's hear about the third movement, which has a great title. It's like a horror movie.
Yeah, the third movement, which is very lively, is called Chaos Monsters. And along with, similar to the explosion of giant stars, there are some creation stories that you could say begin with a bang, or at least involve some kind of conflict of some sort. And the categorization that people who study myths have put these under, these types of creatures that sort of cause all this mayhem, they're called chaos monsters. There's something they are a creature that represents, chaos and disorder, and they usually need to be subdued in order for the world to be made sort of ready for humans to appear on it. And there's a lot of stories like this, and they're cited in the program notes for the piece, which I hope you all come to hear, and you can read them there. And the piece is again a kind of almost cinematic depiction, or maybe portrayal of one of these sort of fights. And this came during a time in my life when my son was watching a lot of Marvel movies, a lot of epic fighting for all of humanity.
Merwin Siu was in the Avengers.
That's right. And Merwin Siu was in the original. Yeah. Yes, the origin story, so to speak.
We'll never let him forget.
Of course not. And so I feel like some of that rubbed off on me. I mean, those Marvel characters, of course, are drawing from mythology. They're drawing from a lot of the same things that I'm drawing from.
Yeah. Some more directly than others. You think of Thor, for instance. That's a direct reference.
Sure. And they tend to be sort of archetypes of a certain, human quality or characteristic. And there are ways for people to connect with that type of thing. And so in this case, with the third movement, Chaos Monsters, not only does it provide a lively finale for the suite here, the group of three pieces, but it also shows a different perspective, I think.
Yeah. Well, the whole piece together is like, 25 minutes long, something like that, 25 or 26 minutes long. You seem, Chris, to have like a predilection for explosions and things, like a lot of chaos in your music, but it's so done with an ear towards making sense of things, right? And, you think about the last piece that Toledo Symphony played of yours, it was about a volcano kind of thing, and there's eruptions in the music and what have you. And now you're like taking us through human history, to infinity and beyond. And you're doing that with music. I mean, are you attracted to these big kind of ethereal concepts of energy?
I am. And I also think a symphony orchestra, especially a large one like we're using for this piece, it has a kind of power to it. It has an ability to move us and connect with us that way. That maybe, I probably wouldn't write on these topics if I were writing a piano trio or something like that. I wouldn't write about the cataclysmic beginning of the world, for toy piano and harp.
Although, don't give Alain any ideas.
That's right. So I feel like the genre of orchestral music sort of lends itself to this. Alain mentioned Mahler, Mahler symphonies.
I've been resisting the Mahler bell, but I'm going to bring it out just every time we say Mahler. And it's usually when Zach is here, we have to ring that bell. It's a Symphony Lab thing. Sure.
And you can't, when you're writing for large orchestra, especially a dramatic piece like this, you can't avoid addressing his music and dealing with it in some way. It's like, he kept having apocalypse after apocalypse in his pieces. He managed to find more apocalypse all the time, and more ecstasy and a little bit more of everything.
So you and Mahler.
Well, I like that about his music. I don't get bored by his music. I don't get. I'm not disappointed in it. It's so satisfying in person in the hall. It excites your imagination so much. And so that's something I want to connect with. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit pyrotechnic,
Yeah.
But
Well, it sounds exciting for the audience.
I hope so.
Yeah. Alain, are you still there?
Oh, yes.
I'm sure you have things to say about Chris and his music as well as your own, but I want to take a break here and do the first part of my quiz. Yes, there is a quiz, and this quiz is called Origin Story, okay? So what it is I'm going to give you 4 questions. We'll go all the way to the end before we go back and say the answers, and it's A, B, or C, multiple choice. And the quiz part is about the origins of a well-known product, okay? Let me pull up a little music here. I don't know why, but this seemed to fit. Now, you guys recognize that? I don't know if you would, Alain, because you grew up in Canada, but that was it's a song called Puffin' Billy. It was famous as the theme song for Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why.
It was a theme song for Macy's or something like that.
I was going to say, it sounds like I'm in a department store.
Yes, exactly.
We're saying things that the origin of things that are everyday, so I thought. All right.
Well, department store and YouTube, and I've got music for everything, okay? First question. This was invented to clean wallpaper. Was it A, beeswax? Was it B, Play-Doh? Or was it C, silly putty? A, B, or C? Second question. This was invented as a solution to the prodigious horse manure on the streets of London back in medieval times. Was it high heels? Was it the automobile? Or was it stilts? A, B, or C? Probably not B, because I don't think the automobile rolled around until much later. Didn't think that went through. Okay, number 3. These items were originally called gems, G-E-M-S, gems, when they were patented in 1904. Is it A, carpet nails, B, paper clips, or C, thin mints? A, B, or C? And the final question in this little Quizlet. This item was patented independently by 2 men on the exact same day and year. It was in March of 1845. Was it staples? Was it Band-Aids? Or was it rubber bands? A, B, or C? So 4 different questions. You guys feel pretty confident in your answers?
No.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, let's try. Let's go back to the beginning. The first one invented to clean wallpaper was B, Play-Doh.
Oh,
right?
Yay.
Oh, I was going to go with silly putty, but okay.
You got that one, Alain?
Yep.
Okay. Now, you're not doing the phone thing where you're just going to say you got everything, right? We can't see.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I listen. I lose enough on the phone that you know that I'm not cheating.
That's true.
No, I know this one because I have so many kids, and sometimes. You know, you have the Play-Doh on the wall, and you take it off and say, oh, well, it takes stuff with it.
Yeah. Next thing you know, your wall's covered in Play-Doh.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay, question number 2. Was invented as a solution to horse manure on the streets. That would be A, high heels. Okay. High heels was invented.
I failed
for
again.
that.
I was thinking stilts, but then I'm thinking, that's a lot of manure. But I don't have really a way to gauge how much manure we're talking about here, but I guess high heels will do it.
As long as you didn't choose automobile, you're all right.
Fine.
Okay. How about you, Alain? What did you pick?
I got it, actually.
Wow. Alain in the lead.
Yes.
I know. I am making a Merwin out of myself.
Well, there are only 2 people here, so you have a 50-50 chance of winning. Okay, these items were originally called gems when they were patented in 1904. The answer is B, paper clips. Yeah, paper clips.
I was going with the candy there.
Gems.
Yeah, me too. I went with the candy. So I'm hitting the other 50% of my answers.
That's okay. You're still in the lead. Last question. This item was patented independently by 2 men on the exact same day and year, and they didn't know each other, I should mention. It was in March of 1845. The answer is C, rubber bands.
Okay.
Rubber bands.
I'm
I'm
on the board. Yes, I got that.
Did you get it, Elaine?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, Elaine is the winner of that round.
Yay!
How do you feel, Elaine?
I'd like to dedicate my victory to Merwin too.
Alain Trudel, everybody. No. Well, while we've got you talking a little bit, Alain, let's talk some more about your piece for piano and orchestra. Let's talk about that title, because you said alter, but if you look at it in print, it's ALTER, and then there's, in parentheses, the letter E. I mean, what is the idea behind the title of this work?
Well, there's inspiration behind the work, and there's also the fact that when you do a work, you try to find a title that represents what it is, but that's also not, I would say not too long, but in our Rachmaninoff concert, the title of the piece was so long, but everybody remembered because it was such a good piece. So I was like, okay, so that's how much for that. But I think for me, and some people might relate to that, is that very often you have a perception of something, and in the life that we live in, I mean, I'm very astounded by the life that we live in the last decade or the last 5 years, something like that. How things are altered, like when you talk to one person, talk to another person, and when you watch the news, everything is altered. The reality is, sometimes you feel like, is this normal? I mean, it's like everybody has their own truth. Everybody has their, and it's really interesting. Not to say that one is right, one is wrong. I mean, it's just that it's very bizarre. Like now we have a choice, and it can be, you can take reality and you can go beyond, because the alter is like, in French it's altérer, right? So it has the E, that's why there's the E with the parenthesis. But at the same time, the root of it is like, it's beyond, to change beyond from what's there to start with, So it's, I think it's, for me it was important. And also it was reflective of material I had from some time ago that I put together and that I kept changing and going through the mill in different ways, and at the end it completely disintegrates. And it's not an explosion, unfortunately. I left that one to Chris. But so that's why it's called alter.
Yeah. Now let's hear about the pianist, because you did mention he's a world-class pianist, a Chopin specialist, Charles Richard-Hamelin, and you've worked with him in the past, have you not?
I worked with him in the past a few times, and he's come to Toledo. Just a year before COVID, he played Beethoven's third piano concerto with us.
Right.
And of course, everybody thought it was wonderful. He is very special talent. He's one of those generational talent. But he's like, also, you would never know that he's an international concert pianist when you talk to him. He's just so nice, down to earth, and also very. He's very much invested in the art of playing the piano. He's not invested on being a star on social media or anything like that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If that's what somebody wants, that's fine too. But I mean, for him, he's like a true. It's like he's from another era, And I like that, because sometimes I feel like I'm from another era. So it just feels like, wow, he's a real craftsman. And I felt super honored that he said, I really like it, I want to play it. Has it been played? And when I told him no, and he gets the premiere, he was like, oh, great. So anyway, so we've been on the phone a lot because it's a little difficult. and for him, he said, okay, can we, I'm making a kind of a tailor-made for him. But at the same time, he didn't ask me to change any notes yet, so that's fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, yeah.
No, it's more like, phrasing and sometimes a little speed, because you have an idea of a speed of something that you want. And, I play the piano so badly that I cannot imagine. No, really, really, really bad. I can comp, on a jazz thing, but I can't play like something that has two hands that has anything that's a little complicated. So it's not my instrument, but I like the piano very much. I've always used the piano, not so much for composing, but like I said, in jazz playing and jazz combining also. So I have a sense, for me, piano is more related to harmony and percussion. It's less, and it's funny because he's a super lyrical player. So, and that's a great mix, because the piece is, he will come in, you will hear the beginning of it. So, okay, this is something a little, not romantic, but, emotional. And then already it starts to be blown apart, and then little bits of this and bits of that are coming together to form the second theme of what's going to be in the piece. And then we go to the second movement. They're all related by little cadences. And I think that's something he really liked, because you have little cadences in each movement instead of just this one big one, with a 6/4 chord and then you're done kind of thing. So he's now he enjoyed that. And second movement is more like I really like Balinese music. I really like Middle Eastern like melodies, and I really like Messiaen-Hamelin. And Claude Vivier is probably my favorite composer. So all of this together inside of me, you're always not affected, but you're always influenced by what you revere, like the great masters. So somewhere in there, there's something that comes out. And when I played it for him, he said, "Oh yeah, this sounds very much like a kind of Middle Eastern kind of melody a little bit." So yeah, I said I'm really drawn to those, and a lot of music that I write has that, and so that it's like a little bit of that mixed with Messiaen camping under it. It's it's fun. And then you go into this third movement, which is you like that also because it is a big feature because it's kind of scherzando, so it's joyful music, something that's a bit more witty. A lot of the soloist is playing, and at the end, for me, it's of course my favorite part because that's just about textures. There's about 25 lines going at the same time, but you wouldn't know. You just hear like percussion. The notes of the piano. Again, I say for me, piano is really more of a percussion instrument. I don't want to be scandalous, but it is in the percussion family. But and he shares and he not shares, but he trades with the glockenspiel, the marimba, of the orchestra, a little bit with the horn also. So all of these sounds go together, and sometimes you very high register of the piano with the very high register of the clavier instruments and the percussion, it makes something special, and you feel it goes away, and it ends. It starts with a horn call, the piece, and it ends with kind of the answer to that call, but just with one violin and the piano.
Yeah. I mean, it all sounds fascinating. Both of these pieces sound like they are a contrast to each other, but they also have these great stories and thought processes behind them. And, folks who listen to this podcast are going to have a leg up when they go to the concert. They have an idea of what it's about and what it took to bring this stuff to the stage. Now, both of you, Alain and Chris, you seem to have, some freedom when it comes to your composing. I wonder if you've ever been in a situation where somebody has come to you and told you what they want the theme to be, how long they want it to be. I mean, sometimes people, they write out this check and they say, I want exactly this, right? And you have to accommodate the other person instead of following your own intuition. Chris, you're shaking your head yes.
Yeah, I did a project when I was a student in New York with an acting company, a small theater company, and they wanted music, incidental music for the play, but they also wanted some music in the play that aligned the timing wise with certain things that were happening in the play. So it wasn't just sort of set change music.
It's like a soundtrack kind of thing. Yeah.
And I composed some music for that and showed up with it and had the musicians and played it, and there some eyebrows went up, and
there were like too many explosions.
So this is not about explosions, so no, it wasn't necessarily that, but we do have to change certainly some timing things, and it was a good education for me to sort of paint within the lines drawn by somebody else, and realize that that music, of course, as we write it for symphony orchestra, in this case, it's the central component of the art that's being presented.
Yeah.
But of course, and perhaps mostly, it's combined with something else, visual, or on stage or on screen or something like that. It's augmenting the experience. So putting yourself in that perspective is very useful as a composer, but it wasn't my favorite
experience.
Yeah.
You have a lot of students, and you brought some student composers here last time you were on the show. I mean, do you tell your students just be prepared for anything? I mean, is that sort of part of the preparation to be a composer in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, when you learn to compose, you usually begin by mimicking something. Almost like a baby learns to speak.
Yeah.
You write like other composers out of admiration for them, or just because you want to figure out what's in there, and you take on those stylistic qualities and learn the techniques that way. And we structure the pedagogy of teaching composition that way. Write in this style, write in that style, learn this harmony, learn that rhythmic technique, learn messiaen, modes of limited transposition, like
get
Alain is
together your
about.
toolbox, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. So that's sort of baked into becoming a composer, but then hopefully somebody can look at those different components, put them together in a way that serves their own imagination.
Yeah. Alain, have you done any teaching as far as composing goes?
No, not now. But I've done a lot of commissions.
Yeah. You've created. Oh, yeah. You've been responsible for creation of many works, including.
No. I've been because you were asking Chris, the music that you paid to write the specific. I've done a lot of that.
Yeah, but have you ever told another composer that you want specific things? You want it to be long, and yeah.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like for example, if you tell somebody write something about Toledo, they're going to wind up writing something about the universe. So it doesn't matter what you tell them.
Gee, I wonder who you're talking about. I can't possibly imagine.
Some composers are better behaved than others.
Yeah. I think you can end it with that, just right there. Now, somebody like Stravinsky, who wrote such incredible original music, composed at the piano, like that was his instrument for writing stuff. Somebody like Wagner was famous for being a terrible pianist, but he would try to play through his scores for people and they'd think, wow, that sounds terrible. But it was his lack of skill. I'm wondering how you guys compose. I mean, do you compose at the piano? Alain, you were writing for piano and orchestra. Do you sort of like plunk things out as you're going along? Yeah,
personally, I write. I don't write at the piano. Well, first of all, I can't play the piano, but I write à la table, at the table, as we say. I think some of it comes from having a good sense of harmony, or just conservatory training, where you do so much musical dictation that you wind up digesting so much piece of harmony that you have to write. Like some people say, they lift it from the album. While we have to write from 3 voices, 4 voices, sometimes more, and then the chords and all that. So at the end of the day, it's just your mind becomes like a little, piano instrument. And when I have the chords, I hear them. But everybody's different, because there's composers that they like at the piano, some others play at the guitar, some others just at the table like that.
Well, I know Chris used to like to sit in that white chair you have in your basement or wherever it is. But what's your habit for writing?
I tend to start actually at the piano. I spend a lot of time at the piano at the beginning of the process. Sort of a discovery or action-reaction sort of experience. It's. I'm not a pianist. I mean, I can play the piano reasonably well, but with my own technique and my own style, and everything is in super slow-mo, right? So, or it's on repeat because I want to hear the thing over and over and over again, and I want that to evoke something else in my memory, or almost sort of go into composing trance, and let yourself kind of relax into a working state for your mind.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to wrap it up because we're getting close, but I do have another part of this quiz if you all are game for it. Again, this is origin story, and I'm going to bring in your happy-go-lucky music here.
Oh, that's very nice.
Chris, we'll put that underneath, the YouTube music, okay? 4 questions. First one is this. These items take their name from France.
Oh.
So Alain's probably going to get it. Is it A, denim jeans, B, loafers, or C, Panama hats? A, B, or C. They take their name from France. These were originally built to punish prisoners. Is it treadmills? That's A. Is it trampolines? That's B. Or is it ball pits? That's C. I almost said Brad Pitt for some reason. Okay. Third question. This popular sport got its start in church as a way to cleanse one's sin. Was it badminton? That's A. Was it soccer? That's B. Or was it bowling? That's C. And final question is this. This everyday technology was originally meant to detect black holes. You should get this, Chris. You're into all that spacey stuff. Mm-hmm. Is it A, Wi-Fi? Is it B, artificial intelligence? Or C, edge computing? I don't even know what that is. But, okay, 4 questions. We'll go back to the beginning. Everybody got an answer? Okay. These items take their name from France. That would be A, denim jeans. Do you know why, Alain?
No, but I know it's the name. I knew it was the answer, but I don't know why.
Because they were made in Nîmes, or Nîmes.
Ah!
De Nîmes.
De Nîmes.
De Nîmes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
From Nîmes, de Nîmes. Okay, I get it. Oh, good.
I love that I'm teaching you French.
Yeah, +1 for Brad.
Yeah, I think I won the quiz already. Okay. So these were originally built to punish prisoners. The answer is A, treadmills. They were like, the treadmills were a little different. They were like hamster wheels, more or less, right? And they were used to generate power from the inmates, so they would walk the treadmill. Number 3, this popular sport got its start in church as a way to cleanse one's sin. That would be bowling. When you knock down all the pins, it's like you're knocking down all the sinners, right? And you get forgiveness. I mean, there are all kinds of crazy things here. Has anybody gotten anything right so far?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Maybe
I got the first and the third.
The first and the third, okay.
Yeah, I got A, and the bowling is because my daughter was talking to me and I didn't understand the question, so I just put a letter in. Sorry about that.
Lucky guess. A for Alain. Okay, last question. This everyday technology was originally meant to detect black holes. That would be A, Wi-Fi. Anybody get that?
Yeah. Radio.
Chris, you got it?
Well, radio waves, yeah.
Yeah. Alain, did you get that one?
I did not.
Okay, well, Alain still won.
Yay!
That's amazing, Alain. You have bragging rights now for winning 2 quizzes.
As we are talking about composing, I applied the Lutoslavsky technique. Is that chance and hazard inside of creation?
Good to know. Good to know.
Well put.
Well, the concert is happening on Friday. It's June 3rd, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art, Paris Style. The title of the program is America in the Key of Gershwin, and we'll hear the Catfish Rose Suite from George Gershwin's opera Porgy and Bess. Also a symphonic overture on America the Beautiful by Wang Ji, and the 2 works we've been talking about today, composer Christopher Dietz and Origin Story. This is the premiere, right?
Correct.
For both of these works. And we'll also hear Alain Trudel's work for piano and orchestra entitled Altar. It's a wonderful, varied program. You can find more information at ToledoSymphony.com. You can also call the box office if you want to attend. That is at 419-246-8000. This program is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony, with generous support from the Rita Barber Kern Foundation. You can download episodes of our program as a podcast by going to our website at wgte.org/lab. You can also subscribe to us through your podcast app of choice, including Apple, Google, and Spotify. Don't forget to check out all the events at the Symphony by visiting their website at ToledoSymphony.com and their various social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can find the TSO streaming platform online at stream.artstoledo.com. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining me today. Thanking Alain Trudel as well as Christopher Dietz, 2 composers, also the music director of the Toledo Symphony, and a faculty member down at Bowling Green State University. I want to thank you for making the trip up here, Chris, and for Alain making the trip by phone and talking to us all about this wonderful concert.
Thank you, Brad.
I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab from FM 91.